So despite the name of my YouTube channel, yes, I also do make pretty dumb money mistakes. And that's why in this video, I want to share with you my 3 best investments, but also worst investments so far. And maybe in the future more will be added. But obviously in my channel, I'm all about transparency and also learning and evolving as an investor myself. And that's why I also want to document it and openly share it with you. So hopefully you will learn from my mistakes. And for a bit of context about me, I used to be a luxury 5-star hotel general manager, working all over the world in many different countries until around a year and a half ago, I decided to quit my job and completely go all in on building my own business. And of course, also here my YouTube channel. One of the milestones this year was that my total portfolio hit 7 figures. And I'm really excited about this. But still, even along that journey, I made a lot of mistakes. And that's what made me realize it's important to really talk about them as well. Right, but let's start off with the best investments and then we move to the worst. And coming in at number 3, which is my 3rd best investment, I would say, is definitely my S&P 500 holding. Now, obviously, for some of you, that might be very boring and very predictable. But I think that's really the beauty and the point of investing as a long-term investor, to have something you don't have to think about much, spend much time in, also have emotional connection, right? Because I'm a big fan of dollar cost averaging and I buy no matter what every single week, whether the market's up, down. That's the whole point. Set it and forget it. Ideally, automate the investments. That's why I'm such a big fan of S&P 500. These are 500 biggest companies in America, but some of them also in the world, right? So really, really strong companies, and they're all passively managed for you, right? For a while, when Apple was number 1, well, it was the biggest part of your holding back then. Now that Nvidia is the biggest and most valuable company in the world, well, automatically, they're going to be having the highest weighting in that ETF. And that's all done for you without you having to lift a finger. And for me, it's been really, really good. I probably started too late. I wish I would have started earlier investing in the S&P 500. And you can see over here on my Delta tracker, where basically it tracks all my various portfolios, which I mostly have with eToro, Interactive Brokers, and Trading 212. And you can see over here my SPY5 holding, which I buy in dollars in London, is currently up by $8,000. And my total value over there is close to $80,000 just in S&P 500. Now, unfortunately, it's actually not the full story, because actually that amount would be higher, but unfortunately not all of them transfer account history. So I actually used to buy them in another exchange, then I had to close it and reopen it because now I'm based in the UAE. And unfortunately that broker could not transfer it internally, so I had to close the position and then rebuy it over there, which was not ideal, but for long-term structure and of course, taxation-wise, it made sense for me to make the move. But unfortunately, in terms of statistics and analytics, it's not the real picture. I would be up actually way more because I was previously already up by 4,000 or 5,000. So if I add that on top, it would be much higher. But hey, it is what it is. If you really wanted to track everything detailed over time, I could really recommend you Portfolio Performance, which is a great tool. And funnily enough, look who Google recommends as a video to watch. I like that algorithm, so definitely check it out. It's a little bit old school and clunky, I would say, but here you can really track every single buy in all different asset classes, and that goes with you over time. No matter if one day you sell a position, buy it elsewhere, that's really the best way to go about it. Also, later on when we talk about cryptocurrency, for me it's actually really hard to know exactly my cost basis over time, right? How much I'm up, because some of it you buy on crypto exchanges, some of it you buy somewhere else, then you keep it in cold storage. So it's really tricky. But I do use and love a tool like Delta, which is an investment tracker. As I've shown you before on my phone, it tracks all my various brokers, even some crypto exchanges if you wanted to. Really amazing. But the problem is, once again, if I was to sell something on one broker, basically it would not have the backlog information about that. So yeah, if you really wanted to go into the nitty gritty, something like Portfolio Performance or even Excel sheet is probably the way to go. But nevertheless, as I said, slow and steady wins the race, and I'll definitely continue to dollar cost average into my S&P 500 holding. And I'm really confident that the coming years will continue to grow. Yes, there will be ups and downs like anything in investing, but long term, I'm still really very much bullish on the S&P. With this, we move to the second best investment that I personally had so far, and that must be definitely Bitcoin. Now with Bitcoin recently hitting new all-time highs, I was really pumped to have finally crossed the 200K portfolio mark in my Bitcoin holding. So that's really cool. And again, I'm not really selling, right? Some people said when Bitcoin hit 100K, it's time to take profits and sell. But I'm not buying it to trade or speculate, but to hold it long term. So I'm still going to hold on to it. Of course, most of it right now I have on my Ledger hardware wallet. You want to take self-custody and ownership of your crypto. That's the beauty of cryptocurrency, right? I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I only have Bitcoin in my portfolio. That wasn't always the case. I come to that in a moment when we talk about worst investments. But for now, I learned my lessons and I'm all in on Bitcoin. And here, as I said, it's a little bit tricky for me to know the exact cost structure, because some Bitcoin I actually received as payments for services. Other Bitcoin I bought myself at different price points on different exchanges. Then I got some staking rewards as well. So it's really quite tricky to really know exactly what it is. But on average, I would say around 50K, which means I made more than twice on my investments so far. So in terms of percentage gains, it's actually probably even higher than my first one. But in terms of total monetary gains, obviously, my first one, we'll come to this in a moment, is still the highest ones. But so far, I seem to be in the plus well over $100,000, which is really not too shabby when you think about it. And yeah, I love it. But guess what? I'm not planning to take profits anytime soon. I will just let it sit there and let it grow. And it might go up further, or in the short term, it might also dip a little bit, which is fine. Right now, I'm not actively buying any more Bitcoin because, yeah, when you saw compared to what I have in my stocks and ETF right now, where I just crossed the 100K mark, I will definitely want to level that a little bit more. So right now, I'm investing mostly into stocks and ETFs to bring it at least on par. And then later on, I might continue to invest a little bit also into Bitcoin. And with this, we come to my best investment, and that has definitely been real estate so far. Specifically, my 2 apartments in Dubai, which I bought, many years ago when I used to live there. And back then when I bought it, there was literally nothing. Absolute desert. There was nothing around. And at some stage, I even thought, did I get scammed buying a piece of sand over here? It was crazy, right? It was off property. It was financed by the developer. So basically, I didn't have to take a mortgage by the bank. It was like an installment that you pay every 3 months for a couple of years. And so basically, I didn't have even any interest on it, which is cool, and no bank mortgage. So I could just pay it out of my salary over time. And yeah, that was really, really good, and obviously allowed me to pay off 2 apartments in relatively quick time. And honestly, today, this neighborhood is absolutely incredible. You see here, Dubai Creek Harbor, and it's continuing to grow. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. And they just approved that they're going to invest major money into a new Dubai metro line, which will also cross over the creek and then connect, Dubai Creek Harbor to some of the other parts of the city, which is going to be really, really cool. They're going to build not the tallest tower in the world, but one of the tallest towers in the world, a new mall around it. So I think overall the neighborhood will continue to grow. So even with that in mind, in the future, the value might still continue to grow. But right now, it almost doubled since I bought it back then. Plus, of course, I rented it out from day one, and I'm receiving around 7 to 8% net rental income, which is really cool considering all the costs that I have there for service charges, for the property management services. Also have a company managing the tenants and all these things, which I don't want to be bothered with, right? So I'm paying them a little bit as well. But still, with all of that, to have a net of 7 to 8% is really quite nice. The rents have been increasing time over time, which is great to see. And of course, the overall increase of value of those apartments also went up significantly. These are both 1-bedroom apartments, and they're usually quite liquid, right? Because people always want to buy them, move in and out. So I quite like that business model. They were too small for me to live in there. Of course, eventually, I'm probably going to take profits and sell them off. I think so, but for time being, I'm definitely going to keep them. And the cool thing is, actually, that also allowed us to get a golden visa in the UAE because the combined value was over the threshold. So that was a good benefit. So overall, in terms of percentage gains, technically maybe less than my Bitcoin gains, but overall monetary gains, of course, definitely by far my highest return and best investment so far. But unfortunately, not everything is always rosy in your investment journey. I'm sure you went through the same, where we made some mistakes along the way, and that's only natural, right? And I'm sure there will be new worst investments added to the list in the future, but for time being, the ones I could think of are the following. Starting off with number 3, which might surprise some of you, and these are dividend stocks. Now, honestly, it's not been super terrible. In fact, I wouldn't even say that I really lost a lot of money with that. Because for a while, I was really into dividend stock investing. And I think it's still great. For some of you, it might be an amazing, investment strategy. And I have nothing against that, right? Where you basically invest in a company that maybe has a little bit less growth, but instead getting some of the share appreciation in terms of price appreciation over time, you get a higher dividend, which makes perfect sense. And I totally get it. For a while, I was really seeking that yield and so obsessed with increasing my monthly passive income, which, again, there's nothing wrong with it, but a lot of the companies that I invested in, they just didn't go anywhere. For example, a company like Pfizer, which I was really excited about, because look at the dividend you get right now, 7%. However, look at the price development over time. And I don't remember exactly when I bought it in, but I was around, somewhere over here. I think in the low 30s I bought in, and then it just didn't go anywhere. It was basically flatlining and going down in price over time. Yes, you could say you still got the dividend, but technically you just flatlined over time, right? And when I compared to the S&P 500, for example, over here on Seeking Alpha, you can go to total return over the last 5 years. I mean, look at this, the total return, including dividends, the S&P would have returned you 108%, while Pfizer, you would have lost money 11%. Now, of course, they might make a comeback in the future, but I was just losing confidence and conviction in it because, after a while, when you see the price developing like this, you really start to wonder, is that the right company that you feel comfortable in investing a large part of your money with? Actually, as I said, I got out with a net zero because the dividends I had and so forth. So I didn't really lose much. But if I had that money invested somewhere else, and I come to this in my worst investment, right, it could have worked for me. Even in S&P 500, I could have grown my money more than I would have had over here. Altria was another company I was having, and again, didn't really do really crazy performance, realty income and so forth. So again, overall, nothing really super bad, but definitely I think if I would have used that money that was sitting there for close to 2 years, invested in the S&P or some other individual growth stocks, I could have really turned it into much more money. But hey, it is what it is. I learned my lesson. And I think that's also important, right? For me, I found that, while dividends can be appealing, it's just not my preferred way of investing. With this, we come to the second biggest investment mistake, and these are meme coins. And here, I actually did lose money. And it was really quite painful at the time. And honestly, I don't even know why I did that. I mean, it's just so weird because I'm so conservative in general, right? Like, I don't even invest in some other altcoin projects and so forth, or even individual shares for the most part, I don't like to invest in. So in general, I'm really quite risk averse. But there, I don't know what happened. And I think it just shows we're all human, right? And I kept on seeing those people on YouTube and Instagram, showing their crazy gains that they had in meme coins when meme coins were really booming for a while, right? It seemed almost impossible to lose money with meme coins. You just find a new project where there's a lot of hype behind, put some money, and it goes 10x, 20x, 40x over a matter of days. And you know what? Actually, I did turn 5,000 euros, I remember, at the peak into 25,000 euros in a matter of 2 weeks, I believe, more or less it was. Which, of course, I was like, oh my God, I'm printing money, right? I couldn't believe my luck. I thought I'm the next guru investor. And well, guess what? I got a bit greedy and I didn't take profits, which is also another lesson. Eventually, having some risky projects might be part of your portfolio. Maybe you have a small allocation, but you got to remember, in this case, you want to take profits. I just said with Bitcoin and S&P 500, for me, these are long-term holds because I see strong fundamental value in that. If you invest in something speculative where there's no real value behind, which meme coins definitely don't have a value behind, there's just hype and marketing, that's pretty much it. Well, I didn't take profits, and guess what? That money went down and down and down, and I mean, basically, I think essentially with all the various coins, and if I consider all the other things that I tried there to trade, I think eventually I pretty much went through all of it, which again, in the grand scheme of things for me, yes, it's painful, but it's not like a big part of my net worth, right? So it was a lesson learned for sure. And I'm not touching this anymore. And in hindsight, it's actually good that I only lost that amount. I know people who lost way significant more. They even took loans or leverage and they lost a lot more than me. So in this case, I'm still lucky, but I definitely learned my lesson not to touch these things, especially things that don't understand, that don't have real fundamentals behind them, like a real business model, business case. So yeah, lesson learned. It's unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. And we move on from that. And that brings me to the worst investment mistake, which actually took me a while to think about this, because at first I did have meme coins, which came to mind immediately, because that's where I really lost money. But then I realized number one, and it might surprise some of you, is actually Palanteer. You have to keep in mind that a couple of years ago, I did own Palanteer for 3,000 euros. And it was around 22, 23 when the price was around $8. That's what I bought it for, right? It's around $8. And then you can see here, it didn't move anywhere for a long, long time. $8, $9. It just didn't go anywhere. And at some stage, I really lost, once again, conviction. I said, what is this stock doing? It's not going anywhere. And I got bored of it and I sold without any profits or loss. So literally got out at a zero. However, the problem is, if you may have noticed, by now the price is an absolutely staggering $153, which is just absolutely mental in my eyes. I mean, the PE ratio of 263 is just ludicrous. It's the highest in the S&P 500 by far. I actually just shared a chart today inside the Smart Money Club. You can see that the valuation absolutely crazy and through the roof. But anyways, as you can see, from $8 to 153, that's a 19x. In a matter of, what is that? Let's say 2 years or so. And guess what? 3,000 euros times 19 actually would have resulted into 57,000 euros. So basically, I missed out on 54,000 euros worth of gain just by getting bored of the stock and selling out. So of course, it's a bit painful. Technically, I didn't lose the money, right? Because I got out at zero, but I could have had that money. But again, could have, should have, would have, right? In hindsight, we probably would have bought all of us Bitcoin when it was at $100, $500, whatever, if we knew what we know today, right? I'm sure we could play the same game with Nvidia and many other stocks that we missed out. So while it's painful, at the same time, I can't really say that I'm super upset about it because I wouldn't have the conviction anyways. I would have not held Palanteer that long. Maybe it would have gone to $30, $40, $50. I would have taken profits because even then my warning lights would have turned on because those valuations and what they do for me, I would not have conviction and I would have definitely sold it before. So yeah, that's just the difference, right? Same with Bitcoin. While it keeps on climbing, I have conviction that it will continue to do so. So if I don't have conviction in stock, I can't really say that I'm upset about it because I would have not held on to it for so long. So that's something also that I realized I really want to invest into things that I understand and where I have full conviction in. Even if it continues to fall, I would even buy more. I would see it as a buying opportunity. For example, I recently started adding individual shares to my portfolio, Amazon and Google. And here I really studied the company. So if they continue falling in price, guess what? I would be buying more of it. And I couldn't have said the same about Palanteer. If it was dropping from 8 to 6, I would have freaked out even more and sold it. So that's the difference. And that's also something I really learned. Right, friends, they have it, my best and worst investment decisions. I'm sure in the future we'll have more, hopefully more winners than losers, but that's part of the game, right? Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Overall, on the net, you want to be up in the positive with more smarter decisions than poor decisions. So most important, learn from your mistakes, improve on it, and make sure you don't repeat those. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, helps out a lot. Next up, check out this video over here. As always, thanks for watching, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.